Are you sick and tired of starting a brand new game of Terraria only to be mercilessly bullied and game ended by these disgusting little slimes? Are you sick of trying your best with your pathetic trash heap little copper shortsword and you just keep getting bullied? What do? Well, luckily I have the video for you. Yes, that's right, stick around because I am presenting to you the top 5 best starter weapons in Terraria, at least this current build, 1.3.5. If you're watching this in the future and Journey's End has been released, this video may or may not be redundant. We shall see. I don't know, but keep watching. Alright, so before I actually get started, I'm just going to clarify what is a starter weapon. So for this list, any weapon that you can get before breaking a shadow orb, defeating a boss, or completing any event, and you can, get it from your first night, first 24 in-game hours. That's what I'm considering a starter weapon. Some of these will not be available to you as a starter weapon in every single world, but they are on the list. Some of you may be wondering, is this list objective? Now, it is my opinion, but I would say it's a very good opinion. Just letting you know. You're allowed to have your own, of course. But just letting you know, this is a very good opinion I have got here. Alright, so one final thing before we get into the actual list is I'm just going to be doing a couple of honourable mentions. They are the Star Fury, the Diamond/Ruby Staffs, and the Mini Shark. Now, the Mini Shark, I possibly could have put in this video, but by the time you get the Mini Shark, you have to have obtained 35 gold, and you have to get the arms dealer, which technically you can get without breaking any shadow orbs and all that stuff, but, it's just, I wouldn't really consider it a starter weapon. No, it's not making the list. Sorry. Alright, now that that's all out of the way, we're going to actually get started on this top 5 list. Starting with, at number 5, the Enchanted Sword. The Enchanted Sword is a melee weapon that shoots projectiles, giving it ranged capabilities. It is an auto swing sword. It has a base damage of 24 and a use time of 18, which is very fast. The Enchanted Sword can be found through an underground shrine cavern thing, as seen on screen here. You can find these through a 1 block wide gap from the surface downwards, and if you dig down through that, you should be able to find the sword. The ranged and auto swing capabilities of this weapon, alongside its ability to deal consistently over 100 DPS to a single target, make it viable all the way up until hard mode. I do believe you can defeat the Wall of Flesh with this sword, even though I wouldn't say it's the optimal weapon for it. Anyway, because of all of these attributes, I believe the Enchanted Sword deserves its spot on this list. Alright, so next up, taking the number 4 spot, we have the Boomstick. The Boomstick is a ranged weapon. It is a shotgun, so it uses bullets, and it has a base damage of 14 and a use time of 40, which is very slow. And you might be thinking, well, that sounds bad. Well, you're wrong, because the Boomstick is a shotgun, so it fires a spread of bullets. It fires 3 bullets for the price of 1, which I reckon is pretty cool. So how do you obtain this masterpiece? Well, if you're brave enough to face the underground jungle, you can find them in these ivy chests underground. It'll be difficult, but it's worth it. So the Boomstick, I believe, is the best gun you can get without defeating a single boss. The positive aspects are if you're facing a group of enemies clumped together or facing a large enemy such as the Eye of Cthulhu, it is really good because it has multiple shots that can hit the target. However, it does have quite a spread, so if you're shooting a target from a long range, there's a chance that it may not hit just because the bullets won't be entirely accurate. Another downside to this weapon is you can't actually use it straight away because you have to wait for the arms dealer to arrive to get you bullets to use it. However, despite these minor flaws, I do believe the Boomstick is a great weapon if you are starting out. So I reckon it deserves a spot on this list. Now the number 3 I would consider to be a fan favourite, and that is the Water Bolt. Some may even argue this should be in the top spot, but I'll explain my choice. It is a magic weapon with a base damage of 19 and a use time of 17, and it casts slow moving water bolts. So some would make a very good case for this to be number 1, and that's totally understandable. You know, this famous weapon was used by Euromir to defeat the Destroyer back in 1.1, and all this stuff. Like you can defeat several bosses at once with it, and it's pretty fantastic. It holds up well in, or almost into hard mode, and it'll last you throughout the entirety of pre-hard mode. You know, it's a very good weapon. But my reasoning for putting it lower on this starter list is because it is a magic weapon. And unfortunately, magic weapons are not that great early in the game, because you don't have many mana stars, and also you don't have like a mana flower or celestial cuffs or anything like that, because you wouldn't have defeated the goblin army and got the tinkerer by this point. So you have to rely on picking up the 100 mana stars instead of drinking potions and stuff like that. However, on the flip side, a positive of using this weapon early game is it is really great for mining underground in caves, because the bolts cast a light source and you can sort of map out areas with this weapon. I believe that aspect of it is really good. So to get this weapon, all you have to do is mine a specific type of book in the dungeon. If you are lucky, this book will spawn above ground or very high up in the dungeon, so you can get it without defeating Skeletron. Another good aspect of the Water Bolt is by landing a few well-placed shots, you can take out multiple enemies at once. Like, it's a really great crowd control weapon, and it's really good if you're fighting, say, the Brain of Cthulhu or Eater of Worlds and a lot of the early game bosses, even Queen Bee, because if you're in a hive, it can bounce up and down across the hive. So I highly recommend this weapon for the early game boss fights. That's why it lands a spot on this list. So at the number 2 slot, we have the Amazon Yo-Yo, the second best starter weapon in Terraria. It is a yo-yo, so it has melee damage with a base damage of 20, a use time of 25, and a weak knockback. Another thing to mention about the Amazon Yo-Yo is that it has a spin duration of 8 to 9 seconds, and it can reach up to 13 tiles. However, if you get the yo-yo string early game, which is definitely a starter accessory, this can be extended. And although it is great on its own, this weapon really lands its spot on the list when used in conjunction with a counterweight, which can be obtained from the Travelling Merchant early in the game for 5 gold. It's basically like a random secondary yo-yo that gets added, so it essentially increases the damage a significant amount. The Amazon Yo-Yo is crafted at an anvil with rich mahogany, 2 stingers, a vine, and 3 jungle spores, meaning you barely have to venture into the jungle to obtain this item. Being a yo-yo means this weapon is incredibly versatile, having the consistent usability of a melee weapon, whilst also having a considerable range for early game. It can be used in all sorts of scenarios, boss fights, general enemy tackling. It can be used around corners, it can be used underground. It's a really fantastic weapon with a very strong DPS for a starter character. Alrighty, here we are. The big boy weapon. The number 1 weapon. The number 1... Okay, this is just filler at this point. But the number 1 starter weapon in Terraria 1.3.5, although this could be updated when 1.4 comes out, is... drumroll... Okay, alright. It's the arkhalis. For those of you that haven't figured it out already. So, the arkhalis is a melee weapon with a base damage of 20, a fast use time of 25, and the thing about this is not like any regular sword. It sort of just has a weird spinny motion. It's very different. It has a different swing radius. It's just weird and very fast and very cool and very unique. The arkhalis is so good, in fact, that it can last you all the way through until hard mode and deal up to 1000 DPS. Yeah, it can even defeat the Destroyer, which you can see going on in the background right now. And if you want to check out the full video, I'll leave a link on the screen right now. Maybe you should click that after this video. So you're probably wondering, how do I obtain this fantastic little starter weapon? Well, and yes, I'm reusing footage, but you just obtain it the exact same way as the enchanted sword at one of these shrines, except there is a 1 in 10 chance that you will get an arkhalis instead of an enchanted sword. So it's very rare, you most likely won't get it, but if you do, you'll be set from all of pre-hard mode. Seriously, it is so good, and even some of hard mode. It is a very good weapon. The arkhalis is just an all-round, very strong weapon. It's one that I definitely overlooked in my old top 5 pre-hard mode weapons video. I would go as far as to say it is possibly the best weapon in all of pre-hard mode. It's just fantastic. It's got a very fast use time. It can attack multiple enemies at once. The only downside is its short range. That is definitely a downside. So it's not what I would recommend to fight, say, the Wall of Flesh or something like that. But against pretty much any other enemy, it'll shred them. It is so good. Well, almost any enemy. Alrighty, so we've reached the end of this top 5 list. I hope you all have enjoyed. I hope you all, maybe, if you're new to Terraria, I hope you've learned something and can use this guide in your future gameplay. If you've played lots of Terraria, maybe you learned something new. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to smash like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave your own list down below of what you think your favourite or the best starter weapons are, the best pre-hard mode weapons are. I would love to hear all your opinions and thoughts in the comment section down below. And yeah, if you do choose to subscribe, make sure to turn on that bell. Yeah, I will see you all next time. Maybe I'll make a top 5 worst starter weapons video. We'll see. Well, who knows? Anyway, this is the end of the video. Hope you all enjoyed. See you all next time. Bye.